everybody, and welcome all thanks to LD Mobile. This is NBL Overtime. 20 weeks of the regular season, a week and a half for the FIBA break, and now 4 teams will fight it out to win, well, the second most prestigious trophy in the NBL. Of course, the first one we'll get to in a moment. Hello, I'm Cam Luke. Hashtag See Incredible. Hashtag NBL Overtime. Hashtag NBL 20. Corey Homicide Williams, as I welcome you in. We are finally able to officially say the award-winning NBL Overtime is here because there is the most prestigious trophy in NBL history. Best on loan show, which we won. Liam Sandomir. I don't know how this happened. I'm not sure if we had to vote for ourselves. I most definitely did. Not sure if that counted or not, but welcome to you. And
thank you.
Studs and Duds gets a rest this week for obvious reasons, but X Factors in the finals is up, nbl.com.au. Any chance of just sliding that bad boy over to the host or not?
Sure, I'll slide it over.
Oh, yeah. Hey, replaces Wilson, who's all of a sudden mysteriously missing. How you doing, boys?
I'm good. Excited to get the finals underway. You have a nice little trip to Fiji?
I did have a little trip to Fiji, a little freshen up.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, you got to be fresh for the finals. You don't want to be fatigued and, dragging a bit
You don't look
behind.
fresher for the finals.
No, this is as fresh as I get.
Okay.
Believe me. All right, let's talk about the finals because while we are important, there are 4 teams that just might slightly be a bit more important come Friday night. But we're going to start with the number 1 seed, the 20-8 Sydney Kings taking on the 15-13 Melbourne United. And of course, United took them until the last buzzer to qualify, but they'll take on a Sydney Kings team. And I must say, you said it, Liam, the biggest storyline was Casper Ware going to Sydney Kings. And I've got to thank them because once that happened, we had to do NBL Overtime in the whole off-season because it blew everything up and it leads to this.
It's the blockbuster final series we had to have because you're right, in the off-season it was the biggest story of the NBL off-season. Casper Ware making the decision to flip across the border. It's a semi-final rematch. He torched Sydney in the semi-finals last year as Melbourne swept them out of the postseason. And then he paired up with Andrew Bogut and he has torched his former team all year. Bogut versus Long, Ware versus whoever Melbourne can find to try to shut him down, and Sydney versus Melbourne. Going to be a huge series.
Just before I go to you, Homicide, who does go to him first? Off the tip, is it McCarron or Illy? Of course, a changing of the starting 5 at Melbourne. And who goes to him?
Illy.
Illy goes straight to him.
Illy will be the man to go to him, I think, right off the tip. And but look, it's a collective. Guys like Dave Barlow, Sean Long, how these guys handle things on their help on the pick and roll is going to be just as important as that man who has the matchup.
Look, we talked about this a little bit last week. I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just going to say my little part. Casper Ware averages 30 points per game against his former team. There's nobody on that team that could stop him. They could throw whatever they want to throw at him. Unless they're double teaming him, which is a bad look because they have so many other weapons. It's a sweep regardless. I don't even need to say anything else. It's a sweep. That's it.
It's going to be fascinating to see how they do go about it, right? It's kind of like what Sydney need to work out about Bryce Cotton. He has killed them all year. Melbourne need to work out a way to slow down Casper Ware. His motivation and focus is clearly there against Melbourne, more so than against any other team. You mentioned 30 points. 29 points a game at 59% from 3 against Melbourne. 18 points a game at 27% from 3 against the rest of the league.
It is remarkable the difference in those statistics. And of course, Casper Ware, and the way that he has always played his basketball, he's an entertainer. He's got and the way that he's played NBL Grand Finals and big NBL Finals, one of which you mentioned last year against the Kings, he's a man for the moment. Those numbers are still extraordinary, even something we've come to know about Casper Ware and how much he enjoys the big moment. Those numbers against his former team compared to the rest of the competition is one of the most, if not the most surprising stat of NBL.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you both something. They're 3-1, right? Mm-hmm. Sydney, 3 games to Melbourne United's 1. When they did win that game, who had a huge game? Sean Long. Sean Long is not getting enough touches for my liking for this team to be able to compete, let alone win a game versus Sydney Kings. They have to get him the ball more.
I think he got the ball probably the most, and I'm not disagreeing with you. And they've obviously changed their structure and their lineup, of course, with Mello Trimble going to the bench and playing that six-man role. Your X factors today: Xavier Cooks for Sydney and David Barlow. The Barlow-Jarshawn Tate matchup is huge, and I'm assuming that's what you're going with. I think Mello Trimble is the X factor for Melbourne United, because if he's able to play the confident, lead the bench, and be the way that he has played the last couple of weeks. Chris Golding was huge in that last weekend, but Mello Trimble played remarkably better in the last 3 weeks off the bench than he did for that 6 or 7 week period where they really struggled. If he brings that, it lessens the gap between, I think, the Kings and United for sure.
I see no reason why Mello won't do that, won't bring that. He's been terrific off the bench in this role. He's been terrific against the Kings this season. Now, not defensively, Casper's been doing his thing, but Mello has shown an ability to read Sydney's defensive schemes and get buckets. So that's why I didn't kind of highlight him. Barlow for me is super important because Long and Trimble, this is going to be brand new for them playing in the postseason. The expectations, everything rises to a new level. Barlow has been here and done it before, many times over, and we've seen it in the last 3 games, which were do or die situations for Melbourne United. He has stood up in a big way. Now, can he handle Jarshawn Tate off the dribble? He hasn't been able to handle that most of the season, getting in foul trouble. There were a couple of games where he played really limited minutes against the Kings because Tate just faces him up, attacks him, and gets to the free throw line. Needs to slide his feet and handle that. He's also super important in terms of their pick and roll coverages on Casper Ware. Now, Melbourne over the last few weeks have got more aggressive with what they're doing there, and so they're going to get the ball out of Ware's hands like they did with Bryce Cotton in the grand final series last year, and be in make other people beat us mode. Rotations need to be tight, and then those other Kings are going to need to step up and make shots.
They've been in first place all year, so they will step up and make shots. So if you double or you're really aggressive on your defensive scheme on Casper, he is more than happy to pass the ball because he has guys that are able to knock down shots and make plays at a high percentage.
That's Saturday night. Monday night, game 2. We know that's definitely going to happen, and Melbourne Arena will be packed after Kudos Bank Arena will be packed on Saturday night. But NBL 20, the final start on Friday night.
Wait a minute, I'm
RAC
sorry.
Arena. Yeah.
What's going to happen in the series? What's the result? You haven't said that.
I was going to wait to the end of the show.
No, I'm not waiting for the end of the show. We're going to do this now.
Okay, you do that now.
Mate, come on.
I'm just asking. But the people need to know.
Bring the broom out.
Bring the broom out. Okay, as long as we're on the same page.
Where is the broom?
Where is the broom?
You bought the broom out last year.
Oh,
no,
my
don't
bad.
tell me.
Hold on.
Don't tell me you spotted
My bad.
it.
I spotted it. My bad. Here we are.
Oh, my God.
Here it is. There it is.
So the broom is out.
The broom is out.
Corey, the janitor Williams, has entered the NBL Overtime studio. I'm not as confident. I think Sydney will win the series, but I think Melbourne are playing their best basketball right now. Now, they're going to have to play better than they have almost in the 4 games. Sydney were probably unlucky not to win that first game. Well, Weaver gets booted out, ejected at half-time, and it took Sean Long put back to be able to get it. I think they're playing their best basketball team-wise, but I think they're going to have to go to a whole new level to beat them. I don't think they will, but I'm not as confident that it'll be over in Monday night in Melbourne. But it all starts on Friday night in RAC Arena, which is a place where the Cairns Taipans went in round 3 when they hadn't won a game and blew the Wildcats out of the water. The Wildcats 19-9, the 3rd seed Cairns 16-12, and this is the game that made us all stand up and think, this Cairns team, if they click, could be pretty good.
In a season full of surprises, this was the first big shock when the Taipans went into the jungle in round 3 and got this win. I was flying back from the NBL NBA games and literally got off. The plane landed, you turn your phone back on and get all the notes. And I was showing all the Melbourne United guys, like, look at this. The Taipans just smacked Perth by 20. Now, Perth have since beaten them. Cairns took the series 2-1. But they go into the jungle with no fear, the Taipans, having been there and done that and got that win. Now, the question is, are they able to step up into the finals, the pressure cooker atmosphere of the finals? We know the Wildcats will. They've done it before, time and time again. Can Machado, Newball, Oliver, the big 3, young guys like Dan, Kawatnoy, Mirko Jeric, can they take their games to another level and meet the level that the Wildcats are going to get to?
Here's my thing. I love Cairns. You know, already got the team from WA, the Wildcats, to win the whole thing. I think this goes 3 games, and the Wildcats will prove to be too much because of the depth and experience down the stretch of games. And I think that's huge, especially with home court advantage.
I agree. I think that in both these games, and they're going to have to withstand something pretty early, I think, at RAC Arena, Cairns. And John's going to be going nuts as it traditionally does. And Cairns are going to have to deal with it. And they've got probably the right man in Scotty Machado, the way that he quarterbacks his team, to be able to, hey, he's got experience. Let me take control. I'll get us through a little bit. I'll direct us to be able to get through what is going to be an onslaught, you would think, early doors. But late in the game, be it game 1 or game 2, halfway through a fourth quarter, tight game, be it in Perth or in Cairns, we know, as you touched on, we know what Cotton can do. We know what Tariko White can do. We know what Kay can do. We know what Plumlee can do to an extent, and he's not someone who necessarily need to get the ball a great deal. Damien Martin, all these guys have won championships or have been at the highest level. That will be the question if Cairns a legitimate chance to get to a grand final, and I'm just not prepared to think they can.
Yeah, I also have some concerns for the Taipans because some of their biggest weaknesses match up with some of Perth's biggest strengths. So Perth, we know, are a pressure defensive team, right? They spark transition. They play at a slow pace, but they spark easy transition opportunities out of forcing turnovers. One of the best in the league at forcing turnovers. Well, the Taipans lead the league in turnover percentage. And we saw in the last couple of games of the season especially that when you get up and into this team, they can throw the ball all over the gym. And they've had games where that's happened. That's a concern. They have to limit their turnovers or Perth will just run away with the thing. Other thing is Perth's offensive rebounding. Now, this is a different Perth team with Miles Plumlee in place to what the Taipans have faced. They played them 3 times. The last one was in round 11. Plumlee has come into the league since. Perth are one of the best teams in the league offensive rebounding. They get all over the glass. The Taipans last in the league in defensive rebounding percentage. Now, what are their issues on the defensive boards? Well, Cam Oliver doesn't block out. He's an extremely great athlete, but his fundamentals on blocking out on the glass aren't there. And Majuk then gets moved around. Nick Kay, Miles Plumlee, these guys are going to get all over the glass. Damien Martin, they send bodies to the glass. And that has cost the Taipans games. People look at why did they lose to the Illawarra a few times? They're tough on the offensive glass. So they are 2 really important areas the Taipans need to be good at.
Your X Factors article today on NBL.com.au, Clint Steindl, who played really well in the deciding game last year in Melbourne for Perth, I like. You had Majuk Deng as your Cairns go. I think it's Quat Noi. Now, it hasn't been there for so much of this team. When Quat Noi went out with that ankle injury, they went from that team we weren't certain about to a team we're like, hey, they're championship contenders right here. If Quat Noi can find his groove, his confidence, first-year rookie as well, not far away from winning the Rookie of the Year. I think it was 49 votes to 44. It was definitely close enough to LaMelo Ball. For me, he's my X Factor, Homicide, because I legitimately think if he gets going, he does add that extra little bit of intrigue and another bow to the string of this Taipans team.
This is a whole different level. Finals is a whole different level. I don't even believe he's going to be an issue either way. I don't think he's an X Factor. It's just going to be over his head, in my opinion. He hasn't played enough games this season, and a lot of times, and I love his confidence, he a black hole. He's not passing the ball. So that can play into the defense's favor, knowing when he's going to get it, he's just shooting every time he gets it, looking for numbers. And right now, I think you need to have more experience in it. I think that's going to be his biggest lesson. Learning after this series is over, watch his film and see and understand that he got to pass the ball and play a little bit more under control and more team basketball.
You've spoken about the matchup between Bryce Cotton and DJ Newell. Newell has gone to him when they have played previously. I think Cotton doesn't fear that matchup one little bit, I don't think. The last time they met, round 11 in Cairns, Cotton put 24 on the Taipans. Newell had a lot of trouble with him. His quickness off the ball, running off picks, his ability to make plays off the dribble, off those pick and rolls. He's going to need some help. You need Cam Oliver, Majuk Deng, those guys are going to need to come hard at Cotton off those picks, get the ball out of his hand. But I think that's going to be a bit of a problem for the Taipans. And the other one is Nick Kay, because just like Jayshawn Tate is a matchup issue for Melbourne, Nick Kay is a huge problem for the Taipans to solve. We know he's been much better in the second half. They haven't seen this All-NBL first team Nick Kay this season. He's going to push Majuk Deng around. He's going to get over in the offensive glass. I'm interested to see, what does Mike Kelly do to solve that? They've had a bit of success with a zone against the Wildcats at one point. Remember that massive fourth quarter that they had to take that win in Cairns? That was with the zone. And also, in round 11, you might remember, he wanted to start Jawai and put Cam Oliver at the 4 on Nick Kay. And Jawai had the gastro. Cam Trigard told us all about the diarrhea.
Yeah.
And he wasn't able to do that. And then so I'm interested to see how they handle Nick Kay, because he's a huge problem.
Two things you touched on it. We know Majuk Deng can play big finals. He played that wonderful 5-game series against Melbourne a couple of years ago. And a big shout out too, something I really like, and I think the NBL's got better across the board and all their clubs and players and coaches, a sense of theatre. And I've got to shout it out to Mike Kelly last week for the announcement that he's signed the contract extension. It was perfectly done, well captured by the Cairns Taipan staff and put out in the socials on nbl.com.au that he has re-extended, which when you're the coach of the year is, you would think, almost a certainty. But I like the fact of when he announced it, how he announced it, and everyone lost their minds. So good things happening in Cairns, and this is a big series. If you look at the schedule, give me it, prediction. What do you got, Liam?
I think, we'll bring out the broom for King.
The broom's going, is it? The broom's going?
Yeah,
Broom's
the
gone.
broom can go now, because I think the Taipans will win game 2 at home. They're 11-3 at home. They've had some success against the Wildcats there. I think after getting smacked in the mouth in game 1, they'll come home, make it a series, and the Wildcats will take care of business in the decider.
I agree.
I agree.
Then we're wrong. Because usually when we agree on finals predictions, it goes the other way.
I've been pushing and I've been suggesting, and I don't think you're too dissimilar, and the same as you. Sydney and Perth have been my tip for the grand final since about round 3, and there's no reason to change it right about now. Now, of course, as we all get ready for Friday night, we have had a little breather, only a slight breather though, of course, with the Asia Cup qualifiers and the FIBA break. And the next gen Boomers took on New Zealand and then Hong Kong. I'll be honest, I was in Fiji, so Liam and Homicide take us through what happened. Of course, the Tall Blacks beat the Boomers and then a fairly big win over Hong Kong. Who impressed you the most, Liam?
Shea Ili and Ruben Tarangi. You brought something from the game, because those two guys turned up for their country and for the Tall Blacks jersey. Rob Lowe was good, Jordan Ngatai was good, and you know the Tall Blacks just have a culture about them that when these guys pull on the jersey, they go to another level. Shea Ili operated like he was an Asia Cup All-Star 5 member, which he was a few years ago, and Ruben Tarangi reminded everyone that he is hot property in this year's free agent market. Of the young Aussies, this man, Angus Glover, I thought had a great debut weekend in the green and gold. Cole Adnam was really good as well in both of the games.
I think that it's just really good to see fresh faces for the Boomers. Yes, you know, all the big dogs are either resting in finals or in the NBA, but just to give these young guys that have had pretty good season in the NBL an opportunity to put on the green and gold. And as you know, everybody doesn't get that opportunity. That's just incredible in itself. I've never seen just fresh young faces like this with the Boomers singlet on. So I just give a shout out to them. And of course, Ellie does his thing, you know, and that just gives him confidence coming into this series defensively, which is not going to matter.
We'll get to Shea Ili in a split second.
Because Casper Ware averages 30 a clip, 60% from 3.
The janitor
Come
is bringing
on,
the
man.
passion.
Come on.
Should we have played NBL finals over the weekend?
Should have played a wildcard game, if nothing else. It was, honestly,
you know what? There was a wild card game played.
There was.
That was
awesome.
I got to give a big shout out to NBL Pocket Podcast, who actually invited me to play the wild card game.
Shout out to Pocket Podcast.
And I'm not a gamer as well. Hey, I might be a nerd, but I'm not a gamer.
You look like a gamer, though, like you do.
I wish I was a gamer.
Sure,
they're
making a lot of money doing that.
I'd play NBA if I was a gamer. But no, there was a wild card game. We should have played a wild card game. But should we, no players in the finals represented Australia, but then we have the New Zealand situation, of course, Shea Ili and a few others, Smith Milner as well. So it's a tough one, but one that hasn't. I see people on Twitter
Yeah.
This is an early yes or no. Has it hurt the momentum of the finals? I think come Friday night, it
Not
just
at
comes
all.
all flooding back. I agree.
Not at all.
Well, yeah, okay. But I think it's a tricky situation. You say, well, none of the guys involved in the finals, just keep them out and play the game. Geez, it's tough to say to Shea and Toy Smith-Milner.
I agree.
Even though you
Yeah.
want to, you can't go and represent your country.
Yeah, and it all fires back on Friday. All right, Josh Giddey did play, of course, son of Wazza, an NBL legend, and was excellent.
He was.
Excellent on Sunday, and he's very fun to watch, and he could be...
Is this filmed on a phone?
Yeah, this is Guy Neville, our guy out the back. He's got no. You can
With
joke.
the cameras in the building?
This is an LD mobile phone. Look how clear that is.
It's
That is-
very
that is
clear.
pure
HD clear.
clarity.
You only get that on with Aldi Mobile.
He's got a lot of length about him. He's a tall point guard, which is, of course, the way of the basketball world nowadays. He's got a better range than his dad ever did. And there you go. Proves that I'm Q. But he's fun to watch, and you would think he's going to be an Australian, hopefully for us basketball fans, an Australian next star going into next season.
Of all the different attributes you just mentioned, you didn't mention his best skill.
The hair?
That's his feel for the game.
Yeah.
He has an incredible feel for the game, and he looked very comfortable as a 17-year-old, youngest guy in a Boomers jersey since Ben Simmons out there on that floor. And he's an exceptional talent. He told the broadcast that he's going to be looking to play in the NBL next season. My understanding, I'm told. Basically, almost every single NBL team has made contact with his representatives and are hunting his signature for next season.
I'll say this
Who
right now.
represents him?
Lighthouse.
I'll say this right now. If there is an NBL team that hasn't contacted his management, Lord, jeez, that's poor.
I'm not going to name him.
no.
I'm not going to name him. But there is one.
There's one?
There's one.
Come on, whoever it is. All right.
Hold on, I want to add something to that.
Oh, go on.
Because Josh Giddey's getting a lot of buzz from
Yeah.
those Australian games. I'm also told that Mojave King,
Yeah.
who is an Aussie prospect for the 2021 NBA draft. A couple of months ago, Draft Express had him ranked at 31 for the 2021 NBA draft, is also considering playing in the NBL next season. Now, it's not locked in. This kid's also got EuroLeague teams banging on the door to try and sign him as a young prospect. But if the NBL can land these two guys, the top Aussie NBA prospects we've had for a number of years, keep them away from the NCAA and from Europe to play in the NBL, that would be a massive coup.
Of course, with no games this weekend and limited, I meant, with the Australian Boomers, of course, it's very hard to do Sanders watching. So we've just thrown another one at him. What do you call this? Word on the street.
No.
Is that what we're hearing? Is what it's called? Word on the street?
There is some word on the street.
All right, what do you got for
got?
us?
Well, it's an interesting time of the year because you've got a couple of teams, well, 4 teams playing in the final.
Let's not dance around it.
You've got 5 teams out, but free agency hasn't opened. So right now, teams are looking at options. You know, whether the player options or mutual options, club options are going to get picked up or left on the
Dancing
table.
around this. Just tell us the rumours, mate.
And renegotiations with free agents, right? So one of a couple of the biggest names, right? Ruben Tarangi.
Yeah, what are you hearing?
Well, he's free agent, no option for him. So he's come off contract. It would have been better for him to come off contract last season, right? On the back of the most improved and best 6-man year.
Which, for a split second, we all thought he was off contract. Remember that?
Yeah. There's a lot of teams interested in Ruben Tarangi. They know there's a lot of teams looking to play money ball on this kid. They know that he is undervalued in the marketplace because he can produce much more than what he did this season. Would not be surprised to see him return to his homeland in a New Zealand Breakers jersey. But there are other teams in the mix as well. Sticking with the Brisbane Bullets.
Yes, please.
Jason Kadee. Little was sort of flown under the radar. He had a player option for his final year of his contract for next year. My understanding is he's picking that up, which is interesting. Coming off an award, oftentimes guys will, leave that on the table, go and explore free agency, and maybe even renegotiate with the same team, but at a higher value. So I'm understanding he's going to pick that up and stick with the Bullets for next year.
Anything else?
What else?
That's a yes. That's a
Adelaide.
yes.
Adelade's an interesting situation.
Well, they got a coach still. I was away. I got told that Joey did not go to the Adelaide presentation night. Do you know that or not?
Which makes a big statement.
So that is actually true?
That's my understanding.
Okay.
And that's, what that says. That says that the deal's been signed.
I agree.
Right? So they're in the market for a head coach. They also, Jeff Van Groningen comes into that situation as GM. doesn't have a lot of flexibility. He's got all 3 imports coming off contract. Jerome Randall signed a 2-year deal. It's a club option for the 2nd year. Do they take that up or not? We'll see. And they've got Froling and Drimmick coming off contract. Everyone else locked in for next year, with Madronya, the DP, elevated to a full roster spot. So that says, assuming they're going to have 3 imports, which we know that they will, that means that there's either Drimmick or Froling or both will be gone.
Do you think they would touch base with Andrew Gaze?
Geez, wouldn't that be interesting? What do you know about that?
No, I'm just asking the question.
You the one telling us the word on the street.
Come on, Cam. Come on, Cam.
I have heard a little whisper that they might have just maybe asked Gaze if he was interested. Now, I don't know how true that is, and I'm not saying that's official, but I think that you're in a situation such as Adelaide, they would ask high-profile people as well to get
That's a
involved.
due diligence situation?
Just ask around. All right, cool.
Hold on, a couple more things.
Oh, yes, sorry.
The Breakers?
Oh, you danced around it for so long, I thought you were out of options.
Sit in the seat. Renegotiating with Jared Weeks. We know they re-signed Abercrombie earlier in the year. Delaney, Rob Lowe just got a new 3-year deal, sitting down and working out terms with Jared Weeks. Illawarra have Greeter, Conrad, David Anderson coming off as free agents. Blanchfield and Nah as mutual options, and Ogilvie as a club options. I'm expecting Emmett Nah to decline that mutual option and explore free agency. Blanchfield perhaps as well, which I think is interesting. And for Southeast Melbourne, Madgen's mutual option, I'd be very surprised if the Phoenix pick that up. But I think that they'll pick up Pernod's with a bit of a renegotiation in the mix as well.
All right, plenty going on as we get towards the free agency, of course, once the NBL finals are done. A little bit of sad news that has come to light in the last week as well. Robert Sibley, 300 games, more than 300 games in the NBL, a 3-time championship player, both at Brisbane and the Melbourne Tigers, and, of course, an Olympian in 1988 with the Boomers, and he's going through a fairly tough battle right now when it comes to cancer, and the Brisbane Bullets have started a GoFundMe page. So we might look at some of big Robert Sibley's. And it was just a tough player. I know you might not have seen too much about him, but he was just a guy that gave so much to so many different teams as well, and he was so hard to stop, and he was one of those enforcers inside defensively, and when he got the mullet flowing, he was hard to stop.
He was a great player, man. This guy played in 7 grand finals, won 3 championships. Some clips here of why he was known as the baseline bandit, because he was a tough cover down low, a big, solid, bruising type guy that you could rely on game in, game out. A little bit of Nick Kay about the way he went about his business. I used to love watching him play. Melbourne Tigers championship player in 1993, 300 games with the Bullets, and sad to see that he is in the fight of his life, and hopefully everyone can get on board and help out him and his family.
Yeah, so we're thinking of you, mate. Good luck. And tomorrow, through all the NBL social media channels and NBL.com.au, the GoFundMe link will be up, so you can jump on and help out a true Australian basketball legend that so many of us have enjoyed watching play over the time. All right, this is your domain now. 3x3. Didn't fit it in last week, and you are going to Tokyo, and we must congratulate you, because you are on the show, and you said, I want to be, you looked down the camera, you're huge on speaking things into existence. You said, I want to get to Tokyo 3x3, and of course, we've got March Mania promo. I think we're going to play it. Hit it, guy, hit it out the back. Of course, Moomba,
From
the Grand Prix. Your voice. To be by surprise.
Yeah, this is going to be huge, and
This is going to be sick.
2020 at 4 huge events. The Moomba Festival, the Formula One Rolex Australian Grand Prix, the Arnold Sports Festival, and the Geelong Waterfront. Your squad, your chance. Hustle or be hustle. Register your team now at 3x3hustle.com.
I know you put that together, mate. You couldn't get that 3 that I hit in that Geelong Waterfront celebrity gave me? Huh?
Here you go, Cam. Man, this is my favorite time of the year. We love this 3x3. It's an incredible opportunity to be a part of it here on Australian soil, as well as representing us in Japan. And I'm extremely excited to be a part of it. But sign up, 3x3hustle.com. Hustle or be hustle. We'll be there.
Are you going to Darwin? Are you going to Darwin to see that mate of yours again?
Listen,
What's his
man,
name?
no way.
What's his name?
Look, I forgot.
So what? Is it King?
Otis.
Can't remember.
Otis. All right. Yes or no? Hashtag see incredible. Here we go.
Okay.
In 50 seconds or less, has the Bullhampton experience narrowed the team options for Josh Giddey?
Yes.
Will Isaiah Thomas be in the NBL 21?
Oh, that would be incredible. Yes.
Did the positives outweigh the negatives for the Illawarra Hawks in NBL 20?
No.
Should the NBL try something radical next year and bring back 1-on-1 foul shots after the bonus? Not 2 shots, 1-on-1.
No.
Should the NBL use the Elam ending, which we see in the NBA All-Star game, in the NBL All-Star game next year, which, of course, I have proposed to and will definitely be happening?
Yes.
Beautifully done. Did you bump into Andrew Bogut at the Gazeys?
Yes, I did.
How was it?
It was regular.
It was good.
Regular.
Okay,
Regular.
cool. There you go. Hashtag See Incredible. Hashtag NBL Overtime. It all starts Friday night. Enjoy week 1 of the NBL Finals. See ya.